So the absolute base of this bread recipe calls for 6 ingredients. Master these in this ratio and you'll be able to experiment with any style of bread you'd like. Here I've mixed 1 cup of water, a cup of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, the same volume of sugar and vinegar, and 1 tablespoon of dry active yeast. You want to give it a loose mix. I'm not particularly worried about this stage. It's mostly about just getting the yeast ready and distributed throughout the dough. The inclusion of an acid should help develop the gluten and in theory give a bigger rise during the baking process. After you've let the dough set for about 30 minutes to an hour, we're going to include the remaining cup of flour. Just take your time incorporating the flour into the dough. If you don't mind a little mess, you can just throw everything on a clean surface and knead the dough there. Now, technique isn't really a thing. Just find a way of kneading the dough that's comfortable for you and continue this process for about 10 minutes or so. You'll notice the dough begin to resist your kneading attempts as the gluten develops. Keep this up until you can form a reasonably smooth and round ball. Once you can do that, you'll have entered the proofing stage. Make sure that you've got that resistance that tells you that your gluten has formed properly. It's a difficult concept to explain, and really with enough time and practice, you'll get the feel for it if you don't have it already. If you aren't sure, just have faith and run with it. I've included and worked in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. This is an optional step and can really be incorporated at any stage of the dough forming process. Personally, I just like the silky texture it gives when added near the proofing stage. Once you've experimented with this dough recipe long enough, really you can just have fun with it. It's basic and simple enough that you could form it into any type of bread you'd like. Once you've made your ball, you can throw it into a proofing basket or even just put it on a flat tray. If you're not using a bowl, make sure that the smooth side is up. For this, I'll be using a proofing basket, and as you can see, I've put the smooth side down, making sure that it's liberally floured to prevent the dough from sticking. So the dough has been sitting for about an hour and a half and has more than doubled in size. Average cooking temperatures for bread range from 350 degrees Fahrenheit to as high as 470 degrees Fahrenheit if you're making a sourdough. For this, I've preheated the oven to about 400 degrees, and I'll be using a Dutch oven that has been coated with ghee to prevent the bread from sticking to the surface of the Dutch oven. Now, if you don't have a Dutch oven, you don't need to worry about it. This bread recipe is simple enough that it can be used to make virtually any style of bread. All you need to do is form the bread into the desired shape pre-hand, and you can just leave it onto a flat tray to rise. And once it's doubled in size, you can go ahead and throw it into the oven at the desired temperature. Here you can see that I've placed the dough into the Dutch oven. I'm not really too worried about the placement of it. So here I'm going to be scoring the dough before I place it into the oven, and basically this helps the dough rise through the baking process. It also adds a little bit of an aesthetic appeal to the final product. I like to keep things simple, so I'm just going to give it a single vertical cut. So the bread's been baking for about 40 minutes. The sequence of bake should be 20 minutes with the Dutch oven lid on, and an additional 15 to 20 minutes with the oven lid off. Now, if you're not using a Dutch oven, baking times can range anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes depending on how large of a dough you've formed. Obviously, smaller doughs such as buns are going to be much quicker cook times than something as big as this. Now, obviously, there's a lot that goes on into the bread baking process, and realistically, you could spend years reading about it, but with a simple bread recipe, you can just kind of jump in, explore it, learn, begin to experiment, and hopefully you can make it your own in some respect.